this fantastic team of people, I need a scary round of applause for Toy, Lisa, Brooke, and Robert from Nightmare on Elm Street. Round of applause! Welcome to my living room. It's a little bit bright lights. I'm sorry, I like it like that.
Smell of the smoke took me right back to set.
I know, right?
Wow.
Yeah. The smoke machine.
It's like the smoke machines, like the girls with a fan on them, like Beyonce, all the time.
Yeah.
Always a smoke machine. I feel like I'm on MTV.
You should carry like a portable one with you, you know, always, so the smoke just comes out of your ears. Welcome to Germany. It's such a
smoking hot.
Smoking hot. Such a pleasure to have you here. Oh. We're all so excited. Are we excited? My lovely audience, you know the drill. If you have any questions for our lovely guests, here on the side you can find a microphone. You can line up and ask nice, respectful questions, please. Thank you. But before that, you have to chat with me a little bit. Your franchise has such an amazing group, fan group. The fans are just spectacular. And I just wanted to ask you if you have any stories that about best fans or cool fan encounters, or just weird tattoos that somebody tattooed your face on some part of the body.
Well, you know, I thought it was fantastic that today someone flew in from Spain just to come and meet us, and I was like, wow, that's incredible.
It's perfect.
Yeah, people fly from all around the world, and they're like, you changed my life, I'm now a scientist. And I'm like, oh God, I'm not even a scientist. Really?
No, I know, yeah, that guy from Spain, that was so awesome, and maybe he's out here. Are you out here? I bet you are.
Antonio?
Anyway, and he's like, and I have a house, you guys can all stay there. It's for you, so I got his email.
That's so smart. Okay, Antonio, we're coming to your house.
But I want the house to myself. No, I with you.
All the girls are going.
But I think what's so fun too is we see things like every show, something we've never seen before. And Robert, you were just talking about this thing with Germany. I mean, it's so
a lot of the photos.
We're always like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, or it's from a country we've never seen a specific poster or whatever, right? It's fun.
I think what it is the Americans send all of the photos taken while we make the films, and they send them to the publicity department in Berlin or in London or Paris, and then those publicity people choose their favorite photos, and many times they're different than the ones that are distributed in the States. And I'm constantly seeing new images. They're similar to images that we've seen before, or it's from the same scene we've seen photographed before. But it's different. It might be between takes, you know, and you'll see like, you know, Toy having a cigarette or something. You know? But I mean, they're those kind of photos. As a young actor, my favorite photo was always the famous photo of Boris Karloff on the set of Frankenstein in full makeup, you know, with a martini in his hand, you know, in between shots. And you see stuff every once in a while here in Europe that you've never seen before, as well as posters we haven't seen before.
It's fun. All right, and any fan encounters that that are really memorable for you, except of the memorabilia, of course. But like, did somebody come in just ridiculous costume, or somebody said something like, "You changed my life because now I'm a scientist"?
Well, I think we all do. We get gifts from fans. Yeah. And I love the ones that are easy to pack, you know, because then otherwise I have to ship it home. But people have been getting me these, they're almost like a fetish doll that a witch would have back in the olden days, back in history. Like a voodoo doll, rough and knit and rustic, only they do them of Freddy Krueger, and they're very rural and rustic looking. They're like folk art. And any one of them alone is cute or kind of cool or kind of dark. But when you put them all together, it's almost like a coven of little Freddy dolls. It's really strange. And I got a great one today. Some fan brought me an extraordinary one today. Yeah, it's with a face that's almost carved, like out of an old dry apple core or something. The Freddy face, yeah. Really cool.
That's really cool. Do you have a little room in your house with all the tiny Freddys?
I store them all on my Freddy Krueger pinball machine.
Okay.
And it's fun because every once in a while, if I don't have a photo, if I'm out, tweeting, I just use one of those. I just take a quick photo of all the dolls because they look so cool together, like a gang of Freddys on my pinball machine.
All right, I would like to ask you, maybe it's a very big question, but how your life changed since your time from the nightmare?
Oh, wow. We were very young. I was 18, and we had been auditioning for many different shows. I was hoping to be on a series regular, and I got the phone call saying, after 7 auditions, you got Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm deathly afraid of horror movies because I believe in them so much. So I was like, okay, this is great. It changed exponentially, not then, it's really now, which is ironic. But we meet generations that are like 3-4 generations down the road, where like my grandma introduced me, or my uncle, and how it's lived on and it's grown to this like real popular
Pop culture.
Yeah, just like never expected that. And for that, it's fun. Or like if I'm walking down the street and someone recognizes me, they're like, "You want to suck face?" I'm like, "Really? Do you want to?"
Yeah, that's totally the truth, Toy. I was gonna say, like, as an actor back then, you just kept going and you keep auditioning and, but I think it's now in the past couple, at least 2 decades of the longevity and the pop culture that we've like been, doctored into. It's just really cool. That's a privilege.
Cool.
That's what every actor really
Definitely.
dreams about.
No, I totally concur with all of that, the longevity of it. It's the gift that keeps on giving, honestly, so thank you guys. But I also feel like it's kind of funny because for the film, I was a virgin platinum blonde. And so they asked me to dye my hair. I said, okay, well, can we do a rinse? Anyway, I may as well have dyed it because it stained it's like throwing red paint on a white wall, right? Stained there. It's all good. It was all worth it, definitely. But as the dye was coming out, and people didn't recognize me so much as they'd be like, did I go to college with you? That kind of thing, So anyway, that's just throwing that in there. It's kind of fun.
But I guess, the big part of it is the fans as well. Like those guys, they're everything, aren't they? Like, look at those lovely faces there. And they're here because they love you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is that true, guys? Yes, Robert, and how for you, how did it change your world and your life?
I was busy acclimating myself to my first television fame. I had a hit TV show called Visitors, and it was science fiction and it was international. And in fact, I'd come to Germany to do publicity for it, and I had received an award in Paris for it, and it was that was sort of my focus. Strangely enough, Nightmare on Elm Street has invaded the popular culture much deeper and longer and permeated it. Every one of us here have a line of dialogue about us or in the movie that is quoted now and means many different things. You can check in, but you can't check out. Or
needle dick.
Want to suck face, or there's just so many of them. And I think the first time you hear yourself quoted by a talk show host late at night, a late night talk show host, or the first time you see a caricature in the Sunday paper, in the comics section, I remember there's a great issue of the German Mad magazine, and it's the nerd Alfred E. Newman as Freddy Krueger. And when I have it framed in my office. I love it. I love Mad magazine anyway, but German Mad magazine was great. I made the cover of German, I'm Alfred E. Newman, as Freddy. But you really realize then that you're part of the popular culture, and you become a shorthand for things.
You all guys live in our consciousness, like all the time.
Shorthand for evil or ugly, I think.
And I can see that our audience is already lining up for some questions, so I will let them talk.
Let's do it. Q&A.
Who's the first person? Come on, don't be shy.
Hello, my name is Sefa, and I have to be honest with you guys. You said that we love them all, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I never saw a single movie of Nightmares on Elm Street. I'm just here for a request for Robert, because my mom was a huge fan. I can't even, I don't know if she was a fan, she was traumatized.
That's the same thing.
Yeah. So there was this one scene that she always told us about where, I think it was about like a cell phone, like someone picked up the cell phone and then your tongue came out of the phone. In some of the movies, one of the movies, I'm not sure.
It's a tongue.
Yeah.
In Nightmare on Elm Street 1. The Freddy uses the phone in a nightmare sequence to contact Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy.
Exactly, that's what she told us, and since then, since she saw that when she was 16 years old, she only uses the speaker on the phone. So, my request was, you can't call her right now, but can you just like say something spooky to her? So her name is Luton, so just like something like, I'm gonna haunt you forever, or something like that.
Her name is Luton?
Luton, yeah.
L-U-T-O-N?
L-U-R-T-E-N. L-U-R-T-E-N, yeah.
L-U-R-T-U-N. Lurton.
Yeah, Luton, yeah.
Lurton.
Yeah, hard name on Lurton.
Lurton.
Luton, yeah.
Hey, look! I'm your boyfriend now, bitch! If I have to do that laugh one more time today, I'm gonna go hoarse.
All right, well, that was a lot of emotions in one sentence. Please follow
Yeah,
that.
I didn't ask the question. I just respond.
Yeah.
Hi, Robert. Just a big thank you to you for finding my love in horror genre from an 8-year-old's imagination. First time seeing Nightmare on Elm Street. But my question to you is, has there ever been mention in any way, shape or form before the passing of Wes Craven of a prequel to the Nightmare of where Freddy actually originated from for a live action play or something?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'll ask Lisa too, because Lisa hears a lot of the jungle drums and the rumors from Hollywood. I know that there's a great prequel sequence in the television series Freddy Nightmares. Freddy's Nightmares, directed by Tobe Hooper. And it's very interesting. And of course, Tobe is very gifted. He's one of Stephen King's favorite directors, and mine. I'm not sure about a prequel script. I think one is definitely necessary. I think it would be a good idea, especially if they're considering rebooting the franchise. I might start with a prequel, and certainly not remake part 1 again. Maybe jump to either part 2 or to Dream Warriors. And then continue along with the remakes. Probably maybe forgetting about 6. Not doing 6, because 6 is sort of a standalone thing about the popular culture at the time. And if you were to remake it, you'd have to remake it with the popular culture of today. It would be so different. It would be like Freddy on a smartphone, Tick-tock. And I'm not talking about the clock.
then a very popular dance. Thank you so much. All right, next question, please.
Hi, Robert, big fan. My question is, how did you feel the first time you seen yourself in the Freddy costume?
Ooh.
Well, you know, the costume, we went through different things. In fact, Wes had me in old baggy slacks covered with grease. And the first day I wore those for 14 or 15 hours, I mean, my legs broke out like a teenager with pimples because they were so filthy. And they looked great in real life, but they didn't photograph like he wanted. They just photographed dark. They were supposed to be slick and oozy and shiny and disgusting, but they didn't photograph that way. You'd have to light the pants, you know, for that to work. So I was grateful when I got to wear dry pants. And we changed the sweater a little bit. It was too big to begin with. We made it fit tighter and you know, for my girlish figure. And the hat is described in the script as a fedora. But Wes and Bob Shea, the producer, lost confidence in the hat. They were nervous about my makeup and how to light it. And they lost kind of faith in this hat. And I had this image from an old, some of you may know this, an old series of paperbacks on the shadow. You know, who knows what evil lurks in the heart of men? The shadow knows. And he always wore this slouch fedora. And you could kind of dip your head down and hide an eye, you know, and then reveal the eye in the light. And I was thinking it would be great, you know, to hide my baldness and my suppurating sores on my head, hide them from the audience, and then there would be a moment where I would reveal Freddy's anguished baldness, you know, the sores on his head and the burn scars. So I had to fight for them, but they had me in like a paperboy hat. They had me in a hat like Toy's wearing, you know, at one time. And I said, yeah, this is great, you guys. I could just see me standing on a corner with my burn makeup on going, extra, read all about it. You know, like
looking like a
newsies. I said, no, he's not a newsie. You know, you can't wait. And they had me in a straw hat. They thought if I wore a fedora, this was how crazy they were. They hadn't slept. And they were so nervous. They thought, oh, if he wears that hat, it'll remind everybody of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I go, I'm not going to remind anybody of Harrison Ford.
What the heck?
But so those were the kind of the stages we went through. And then the makeup, of course, at David Miller's studio. He just finished doing Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I was out there a lot, experimenting with the makeup. And he had these horrible medical books with burn victims in them. I couldn't look at them. But we were getting closer and closer. And he poked me. He was very cheap with his brushes. And he would use them over and over again, and they got really hard and sharp, like a knife point or a pencil. And these at one time were really fine Japanese brushes, but now they were all crusted with the glue for the prosthetics. And he would be touching me up with one of these, and he poked me, and I remember I was sitting there in the barber chair, looking in the mirror, almost completely made up as Freddy, and I went, ah, damn it, David! And I saw myself, and I heard that voice come out of me, and it had just gotten a little guttural because I was angry, and because I swore, and it fit Freddy. And that's sort of the day I found the voice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next question, please.
First of all, I was really excited to see that you guys were announced for Comic Con because the Nightmare movies are my absolute favorite horror movies, and Freddy is my favorite slasher, I must admit that. And you guys were talking about generations. And so when I was 13 and came up to my mom and was like, I really want to watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, she was terrified because she had nightmares growing up when she watched the movies. And then Robert, for the question, you guys, there is no denying that you guys left a mark on not just one, but many generations. And what is it like coming from Freddy and then to a big franchise like Stranger Things, which a whole new generation is watching and loving. How is it going from terrifying one generation to like being a not that much terrifying character in like something big like Stranger Things?
Well, I think all of us have successes in other dynamics of the business. You know, Brooke was on a series with Heather, and it was the big, wonderful primetime family comedy. You know, and Lisa's been in many other projects. So's Toy, and we as actors, I'm going to toss this to the girls, but I don't really delineate it that way. I look at my time with Freddy as this incredible happy accident that happened in my career. I had a good career. I've been working since 1973, and my first job was a starring role. And that's not counting my theater work. So I don't think of it that way. I think of Freddy, and my gracious compliment of playing Freddy is he made me international. Because horror, like science fiction and fantasy and action movies, speaks the international language of cinema. So, and especially the cleverness of Wes Craven to use the dream as the spine of the films, this landscape of dreams and nightmares that he chose to use, made us international immediately. And that's great for all of us, everyone here. We travel more than we normally would. If we would just have been on the 10 of us, well, even the 10 of us that may have been international, you know. But you know, sometimes we have people in America that are huge, but they're not known anywhere else, you know, because they're a comedian or a talk show host or something. And we think of them as huge superstars, but if you take Lisa and I to a fountain in Rome, we'll sign autographs, and that talk show host, no one knows who the hell he is. It's very interesting dynamic how that works. So my thing with Freddy is, Freddy made me an international actor. I've done 14 movies in Europe, and that's I'm so thankful for that. What about you guys? How about?
Well, to your question and comment, my niece, they're 19, 20, and they knew nothing about Nightmare on Elm Street. But it wasn't until Robert did Stranger Things, then they came back to me and they said, we just watched Nightmare on Elm Street because Robert was on Stranger Things, and we didn't realize who you were in the movie. I'm like, they're my family. They had no clue until Stranger Things. But it opened up a whole nother generation to then look back, and then they start viewing our movies, and they're like, oh, that's how you're connected to Robert Englund. And they were thrilled by that. So it tickles me.
Because horror today is pretty extreme, some of it. I mean, it's great. I love it, but there's some hardcore stuff out there in the effects and in the new effects, the new CGI. But I find that our films are milder than we remember them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so younger kids now are finding a DVD, or they're watching Nightmare on Elm Street streaming, and it's more accessible to a younger audience than it was potentially back in the day.
Yeah, when you go to Blockbuster, you have to rent the movie. Right now they have
and now it could practically be a PG-13.
100%
In many ways, like Nightmare 4, I always kind of feel like it's a great date movie, you know?
Yes,
because there's good jokes, great music, you know, clever kills, you know?
Yes, I think that's one of the reasons why there are more younger kids watching Nightmare on Elm Street. Because I remember I didn't let my son watch Nightmare 4 until he was 13.
Same here, honey.
So when he watched me, he was like laughing. He's like, Mom, this isn't scary. This is funny and campy. And I was like, 20 years ago, this was so fucking scary.
Yeah, I guess we are a little bit desensitized, not so sensitive anymore, no, to the gore and everything. But did you watch the Stranger Things episode with Robert?
Yeah.
Totally
I mean, I
watched
had started Stranger Things, but then I had stopped. And then when Robert told us that he was on it, I binged through and it was like July something when the next season came out. And I couldn't wait. It was like July 1st or something.
And
when
we
you
just
could
wanna
finally
see more of Robert.
see your episode. But I don't know why we even use you more. We just don't
It's
understand.
just the same old thing, back in the makeup again.
I know, right? Oh, that eye. Oh,
Like,
it was
we want
great.
more of Robert so bad.
It was great. Yeah.
No, what happened to me was because I rewatched season 3 of Stranger Things as part of my prep, and there's a scene at the end of season 3 of Stranger Things, and I'm a fanboy. I love good acting, and Maya Hawke and Joe Keighley from Stranger Things, they've been flirting at Chips Ahoy at the mall for 2 seasons. And now they've been tracked by the Russians. They've been given psychedelic drugs. They're alone in the mall, in a bathroom. It's filthy. They're hiding in the stalls, by the urinals and the toilet, and leaning up against the little door of the stall in the bathroom. And they're coming down from a Russian drug. And Joe Keighley finally recognizes how strong Maya Hawke is. And he's sort of flirting with her and trying to tell her this. And then she realizes what's happened, and she has to tell him. She's realized. She comes out of the closet and tells him. But I saw that scene, and it made me understand just how great Stranger Things is and how talented those people are on that show. And now I'm like a huge Maya Hawke fan, but I'm also a huge Joseph Gwynn fan too.
Oh, who isn't?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for the work you do with the nightmare movies. They're absolutely iconic, and even though your children might say otherwise, the movies are still scary. Don't worry.
Thank you. All right, guys. Next question, please.
Hello, Robert, and the rest of the cast as well. I was just wondering, first of all, I wanted to preface by saying that the Nightmare on Elm Street series as a whole basically inspired a love for horror movies in me, the likes of which I can't begin to describe. Otherwise, I can't imagine my life without Nightmare on Elm Street in it. I can't imagine my life without horror movies of anything of any sort in it. But I suppose, like a million questions I couldn't possibly ask you. I think I would ask, what is the one piece of advice you would give, either life advice or as actors? Not to say that they're entirely separate things, but I mean, basically, what is the one bit of advice you would give to someone aspiring to be an actor or to work within the film industry as a whole? I would say.
Toy?
I would say that the number one thing for me and for anyone is we're such an instant gratification world right now that we want everything right now. And the discipline of learning a craft, honing a craft, is part of the failure. It's part of not succeeding, not getting what you want, so that you can hone in on your skills a little bit deeper. And I really do believe there's a slogan that my character says, which is mind over matter. And that is a manifestation of your belief, and that belief has to lie in yourself. So fail a whole bunch of times, roll down the hill, but just keep going, just keep getting up. So if you see it, everyone else will see it eventually. That would be my...
Wow, that's a great
Beautiful, Toy, love it. The actors now today, it's all the social media, influencers are getting roles. It's such a different world, right, guys? When we were doing it, we did theater, that was our training. I actually went to Poland and studied Grotowski this was the kind of thing. And I would still say today for an aspiring actor, go to the symphony, go to concert, even if you don't like ballet, go. You need to explore all forms of entertainment because it will enrich your ability to create a character or how to create a walk for a character or how to speak or whatever, and watch, all kinds of films, you know, from horror to comedy to foreign films. Oh, gotta watch foreign films, because you will absorb and learn from other performers, which just gives you this vast bucket of things to pull out of, you know, to create your characters.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, in Germany, you guys have an incredible history of cinema. There is an argument that even though Sergei Eisenstein and the Russians were doing some really amazing work earlier than Hollywood, that the German film industry of the 20s and 30s, just amazing and gifted, extraordinary people were working then, and all the way up until today. It's an amazing cultural contribution to the world of film. So, if you're not doing theater, I would say in Germany, you don't have to go to the best or the biggest universities, but you do need to acquaint yourself. If you haven't decided whether you want to be in front of or behind the camera, or writing or directing, or lighting, or doing costumes, or whatever you want to contribute, if you can get to a smaller college that has a lot of equipment, that has the new technology, that has some great cameras, some great digital cameras that you can check out if you're a film major at the school. And don't worry about going to the best universities and doing it. You want to go to the one that has all that stuff sitting on a shelf so that you and your fellow students can grab a camera, and for your junior project or your sophomore project, you can make a film. And you've got that stuff, because it's the last time it's going to be free. That stuff's just lying around at campuses all over. The other thing is, if you're thinking about acting and theater, you don't have to go any further than the great Berliner Ensemble, or watching some of the great companies that are in Wuppertal and places like that. There's just amazing actors coming out of Germany. And I'm sure that when I used to work here, I know that they had divided up the television channels and some of the movie studios, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this would have been 10 or 15 years ago, but they divided them up between Berlin, Cologne, and Munich, I believe. They all had sound stages, and they all had studios, and of course they all have their own unique theater scenes. But they did that to space it out for the economy of Germany. So that would be, you have to decide on one of those places eventually, you know, or London, or New York, or Los Angeles, Vancouver, Canada. But these are the places where one can work. And there's a lot of product now. There's a lot of product. I was talking to Robert Patrick, the Terminator, earlier today, and he said an interesting thing. He says, there's plenty of actors right now, and there's plenty of great ideas, but there's a lack of people to finish those ideas into screenplays. So I think that's a big door. And also, if you can write, you own it. You own that story. You're what in America we call it the catbird seat. You can control it. And you can, if you want to sell it, you can, or you can hold on to it until it gets made. But if you have a good story, a good script, a good treatment, a good pitch, you're in the catbird seat. So screenwriting, I think, is probably a great area to pursue. And then directing. We have plenty of good actors. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't be an actor, but you need to test yourself. I always think you should try some theater, because if you love it, it becomes not about money. It becomes about, it just feels so good.
Yeah.
It's nothing like getting a laugh in the same place every night in a comedy.
Oh yeah.
We can feel you. I can feel you right now. When you're a theater actor, you get that. The only other place that happens is when you're a rock star. They feel it too. I mean, you feel it when you're an actor, and it's really a great feeling when you have that audience with you, and you're controlling them, and you can get your joke out or make them cry in the same place every night. But it's a way to test yourself, to see if you can get up every night and do this play, and that you love it that much, and that you don't mind sweeping the stage, or mopping the stage, or you don't mind being an understudy, or you don't mind being, an extra. I just heard Samuel Jackson talking about how frustrated he was when he was doing an August Wilson play on Broadway, but he was the understudy. And he had to watch the other guy go on every night, and he was great, and the other guy got the Tony Award and everything, and it was very frustrating for him, and it may have turned him to drugs. He said he had a problem with addiction after that, because it was just so frustrating for him. But you have to do that. You have to go through that, and you have to love your fellow actors, not envy them. You gotta love them. I mean, we're all in this together. It's the same thing with the world. We're all on this little planet together. We're all on this stage together. I think Brooke might want to add some idea. Do you have any advice for the people starting out?
I was going to say, it's about paying your dues. There's something to be said about paying your dues, like you said, and sweeping the stage floor and going in and stinking up the joint and going, God, I suck, and then you just pick yourself back up again and you go, go back, I don't care, I want to do this.
It's the humility, about the humility.
You want to eat, breathe, sleep, whatever art it is, because it is hard. So you want it. Every pore in every cell in your body has to want it, and then you just keep going.
And it's great to be in a hit, and we've all had our share of them, and it's great to be in a successful show and make Hollywood money. But I don't think any of us started out thinking of ourselves that way. We thought about parts we liked to play and roles we wanted to do, but you find there's this sort of shaking out process. And I know some really good actors that just couldn't take the rejection. And I know some really good actors that didn't like, the hours. And and there was other people that just were in it for fame. And they were really good, but they didn't find the fame. And it was like, it's like, but you're so good. But that didn't work for them. And then there's other people that just like the work. It's just the work. And if you're that person, sooner or later, just by the nature of the odds, you'll be in a hit. And you can't predict it. You're never gonna know. I never planned on being a horror actor, a famous horror actor. I thought I was going to be the best friend forever. I played nothing but best friends in the 70s. The sidekick. But those parts don't age well. They used to. Back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, you had these great character actors that could play the friend of the leading man. And they were older guys. Arthur O'Connell, Walter Brennan, Ward Bond. All these wonderful old actors they played the best friend and the sidekick into their 60s and 70s. Now we want the young friend, the young pal, the young buddy. And so I had almost aged out of those. And, when I did Nightmare on Elm Street. And it just was this happy accident. And I was on the merry-go-round, and I grabbed that ring,
And with that note, unfortunately, that's the all time that we have. So I need a round of applause